Imagine that the life you are trying so hard to control is the very thing slipping through your fingers because of that effort. Not because you are weak or unlucky, but because you have believed, without questioning, that peace comes from arranging the world to your liking. It does not. In the next few minutes, you will encounter 3 philosophical ideas, simple in appearance, but quietly radical, that can change how you see fear, failure, and even time itself. These are not distant concepts from ancient texts. They are tools, tested under pressure, meant to be lived in the middle of uncertainty, ambition, and ordinary days. The first idea begins with a boundary that most people never truly accept. There are things you control and things you do not. This is easy to repeat, but difficult to live. The hard truth is this: most of your stress comes from trying to control what was never yours to begin with. Other people's opinions, outcomes, timing, recognition, even the way life unfolds despite your plans. Pause for a moment and look closely. How much of your day is spent negotiating with reality, wanting it to be different, faster, fairer? You replay conversations, anticipate judgments, rehearse futures that have not arrived. And in doing so, you abandon the only place where your power actually exists. Here is the reversal. Control is not about influence over the external. It is about discipline over the internal. Your thoughts, your reactions, your interpretations. This is where freedom begins. Consider a common situation. You send an important message, perhaps a job application, a proposal, or something deeply personal, and hours pass without a response. Anxiety begins to fill the silence. You start constructing narratives. They ignored me, they judged me, I failed. But what has actually happened? Nothing beyond your control has changed. Only your interpretation has expanded into suffering. Now imagine applying this idea in real time. You recognize the outcome is not mine. The response is not mine. What is mine is the clarity of what I sent, the intention behind it, and the composure I choose now. The silence remains, but it no longer owns you. Another shift emerges here, subtle but powerful. Letting go is not passivity, it is precision. You stop scattering energy across what you cannot change and invest it fully where you can. Your effort becomes quieter but sharper. Your mind, less crowded, becomes more effective. And in that space, something unexpected happens. You begin to feel a kind of steadiness that is not dependent on results, a calm that does not need guarantees. If this way of seeing is beginning to resonate with you, take a moment to subscribe and leave a thoughtful comment about one thing in your life you are learning to release. Sometimes clarity grows when it is shared. Now, as we move deeper, the second idea challenges something even more ingrained. The belief that obstacles are interruptions to the life you were meant to live. The hard truth is this: the path you imagine, smooth, predictable, uninterrupted, does not exist. And if it did, it would not make you stronger. It would make you fragile. We tend to think of difficulty as a deviation. Something has gone wrong, something needs to be fixed so we can return to the real path. But what if there is no separate path? What if the difficulty is the path? This is the reversal that Stoic thinkers understood deeply. The obstacle is not in the way, it is the way. Reflect on this carefully. Every meaningful capacity you admire, resilience, patience, clarity, courage, cannot be developed in comfort. They are forged in friction. Without resistance, they remain abstract. Think of someone who faces rejection repeatedly. An entrepreneur whose ideas fail, an athlete who loses, a writer whose work is dismissed. From the outside, it looks like a series of setbacks. From the inside, it can become something entirely different. If they resist reality, each failure becomes a verdict. I am not enough. But if they adopt this philosophical lens, each failure becomes information. Each obstacle becomes a refinement process. In modern life, this might look like losing a job unexpectedly. At first, it feels like collapse, identity shaken, security gone. The instinct is to rush, to fix, to restore what was lost. But if you pause, something else becomes visible. The loss reveals dependencies you had ignored. It forces a reevaluation of what you value, what you tolerate, what you are capable of building differently. This does not make the experience easy. Philosophy does not remove pain, but it changes the function of pain. It is no longer meaningless. It becomes directional. Another shift occurs here. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What does this make possible that was not possible before?" And this question, quiet as it is, returns a sense of agency, not over the event, but over what you extract from it. Over time, you begin to trust something deeper than outcomes. You begin to trust your ability to respond, and that trust becomes a form of stability that success alone could never provide. Now we arrive at the third idea, perhaps the most unsettling and the most clarifying. It concerns time. The hard truth is this: you do not lack time nearly as much as you think. You lose it, not in dramatic ways, but in small, consistent fragments. Minutes dissolved in distraction, hours traded for trivial concerns, days shaped by urgency, but not by importance. And then occasionally a moment of awareness appears, a quiet realization that time is passing, not abstractly, but personally. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote that life is long enough if you know how to use it. The problem is not its length, but our relationship to it. Here is the reversal. Urgency is not about doing more. It is about seeing clearly what actually matters. Reflect on how often your attention is divided. You are present, but not fully. Your mind is elsewhere, revisiting the past, anticipating the future, or drifting through noise. Now imagine approaching your day with a different awareness. Not dramatic, not intense, just precise. You recognize that this hour will not return. This conversation, this walk, this moment of quiet, they are finite. In practical terms, this might mean something simple. You are with someone you care about, but your attention is pulled toward your phone. Normally, you would divide yourself between both. But with this lens, you choose differently. You put the phone aside. You listen fully. You allow the moment to be complete. Nothing extraordinary happens. And yet something essential does. Time is no longer something you are spending. It becomes something you are inhabiting. Another example. You postpone something meaningful, a project, a conversation, a change, because there will be time later. But later is an assumption, not a guarantee. When you begin to see time more clearly, hesitation loses its appeal. Not because you rush, but because you stop negotiating with what matters. And gradually, a deeper calm emerges. Not the calm of having everything under control, but the calm of alignment. Your actions begin to reflect your priorities more closely. Your days feel less scattered, more intentional. As these three ideas settle, control what is yours and release the rest, see obstacles as part of the path, and treat time as something sacred rather than abundant, you may notice a quiet shift. Life does not necessarily become easier, but it becomes clearer. You stop expecting it to conform to your preferences. You stop fearing difficulty as if it were a mistake. You stop assuming that meaning exists somewhere in the future. And in that clarity, something steadier takes root. Not excitement, not constant happiness, but a grounded sense of presence. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, paused by failure, or distracted by the noise of daily life, remember this: you are not here to control everything, avoid every obstacle, or stretch time endlessly. You are here to see clearly, respond deliberately, and live fully within the limits that give life its shape. And perhaps the most important realization of all is this: nothing changes your life more than finally seeing it as it is.